What's good, everybody? Appreciate you checking in. All right. Our Raiders, we decide to win. And when we win, we lose the same damn time, unfortunately. But we beat the Saints 25-10. We got one game left, Chargers next week. But we're going to break this thing down. Unfortunately, we're going to break down the box score. We're going to take a look at the stats. We definitely had some players that perform, but we also got a player that everybody's probably going to be wanting to talk about moving forward that could potentially be the leader of the ship next year, because we got a lot of Aiden O'Connell fans out there. We'll see what they talk about in the chat, but we're going to talk about the stats. We're going to bring up what Tankathon has us at currently, so the draft spot that we're currently at, but we're also going to look at some of the top 10 potential prospects in next year's draft, kind of break that down and kind of see where our draft spot is currently and just what type of players we might go after in next year's draft. So we're going to kind of put this all together. But I appreciate my guy Severe, man. You pulling up. I appreciate you coming here with me, man. How you feeling?
You know what? It's it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I'm happy to see Brock play well, man. You know what? I'm happy to see Aiden play well. Happy to see a few other guys play well, and I know we're gonna get into it later on. Disappointed with where this puts us in terms of our draft position. But you know what? If we're going out with a bang, let's go out with a bang.
You know, and I appreciate everybody kind of rolling through. I'm gonna say what's up to the chat in a second, but man, I'll tell you, I've never had these emotions before, right? When we have a good play, I start to get up and I'm like, you know, I want to say what's up. I want to be able to, you know, get live and get excited for it. But then again, I'm like, oh shit. It's just one step closer to the number 8, 9, 10 pick. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like I've never had these mixed emotions before, and I'm struggling with it. But you know, at the end of the day, there's definitely things that we can kind of hang our hat on. Like you just mentioned, Brock Bowers, man, that kid. I mean, when's the last time their first season, right? We've had some players that have progressed well. Look at Josh Jacobs, right? Josh Jacobs, he was real flashy his first year, but then had some injury history. But then, you know, last year decided to kind of show up, but didn't play the last handful of games, which meant he was on his way to Green Bay. But when's the last time we had a definitive first round draft pick that has produced the way that he has? I mean, the most recent one I can probably think of is maybe Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack probably, but not to like this magnitude.
Yeah, and not even because Khalil Mack, his first year, I think he only had 4 sacks his first year. Now part of that was because he was split time between, you know, DN and linebacker, so he didn't get as many opportunities to rush the passer. But he wasn't that edge rusher his first year. I mean, it's been a long time since we had a first round pick to come out the gate and be this well, and ever really we never. Amari Cooper was probably the last good time we had a guy just come out and really play well, you know, and even
his first year,
their first year, yeah, and even he wasn't, you know, to this level where it was just, you know, just incredible play after incredible play. So, you know, yeah, but that's probably like the last time that Amari would have been the last. Like, see, remember after his rookie year was the first time in forever we had 1,000-yard receiver. Remember, we went like years, 7, 8 years, I want to say, without having 1,000-yard receiver, and then we take Amari Cooper instead of taking Leonard Williams, and he ends up putting up that 1,000 yards his first year.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick up because I mean, obviously, I'm trying to pick up the just the image of everything that he broke today, right? He's he now holds the rookie record for receptions ever as a rookie for tight ends for the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
Most rookie yards.
Yes.
And then he broke
Puka
Nacua's receptions for rookie reception record. I mean, I think just today he broke, whether it be Raiders records or NFL records, I think he broke, you know, four individual records, which is just insane. He's got a whole game left. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard to think of the last rookie player to have a rookie season like this. Got to give credit to Tom Telesco. Yeah, there's players that we may have wanted, maybe go up for a quarterback or what have you, but at the end of the day, without question, nailed that first round draft pick. So big to Tom Telesco for that. So again, before we get into it, we're going to break down the stats. We're going to break down kind of where we're at now with the win when it comes to the draft pick next year. And we're going to pick up some draft prospects. I know there's a lot of people that still wants to get a quarterback. There's a good chance those quarterbacks that you want are now completely out of reach, but it's going to start the talks of all the rumors of trading away players to kind of jump up in the draft or whatever. Like those rumors are now going to run wild. So I hope you guys are ready for it. But let's say what's up to the chat. Billy Davis, man, I appreciate you coming through. Steve, always good seeing you in the building. Jason Marshall, I see you. Just Ward, baby. I'm telling you. We'll talk about quarterbacks. AOC 12, man, I appreciate you coming through. We'll talk about Aiden O'Connell as well when we go through the stats. Fear Raiders in the building. I appreciate you coming up. Larry Fleming, I appreciate you pulling up and checking in. Let's see, Raider Alex, I appreciate you coming up, man. Always good seeing you as well. Kenny P99. Amari Cooper, yes. Amari Cooper. Severe just said it. Definitely one of the rookies that definitely had a breakout year. Jason Marshall with the breakout year saying Mack and Woodson. Yeah, definitely Woodson as well. James William, appreciate you coming out. I think Larry Fleming is the closest I think of as our kickers, or Charles Woodson, first round. Yeah, definitely probably some kickers, man. I can't remember what Seabass's rookie year looked like, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was nailing them.
The first round pick, he better be.
Exactly, right? Steve, man, appreciate the super chat. Always starting out the show right. Cam Moore to Brock Bowers is going to be amazing. We're going to talk about that, okay?
In your imagination, Steve. In your imagination. On Madden, it's going to be a great thing.
Or in Madden. Let's say Fear Raider saying so AP don't get credit for the rookies and other players' development. I'm not going to discredit. Look, again, AP, I think you got to give him credit, but at the same time, AP is also responsible for so many things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so as much as, yes, you can give AP some credit for his development. I will not take that away from him. I'm just saying Tom Telesco because that's what GMs are graded by, right? That's what their evaluations are based off of is the draft and free agency. That's it. But Fear Raider, I'm not going to take anything away from AP. It's just that he is evaluated on so much more on top of just the development of one single player.
Yeah.
Troy Gill pulling up. I appreciate you, man. Raider riding in the building as well. Everybody coming through. Cool Kev, always good seeing you. How sweet
Man,
it is.
Rather had absolutely no help. He had absolutely no help. Riley actually didn't play that bad. Yeah, he made some bad decisions later on. But he
also made some really good throws.
He made some incredible throws. If these guys can actually hold on to the ball when they were throwing it, he'd had his stat line would have looked a lot better. But I was impressed with what I saw today, especially you look at the circumstances and all the turmoil around him and all the backups he was dealing with on the interior. He actually played pretty well.
Yeah, no, he did. A couple errant throws, but at the same time, Spillane should have had that pick. But you know what? Spencer, he's still a rookie. Those things happen. You know what I'm saying? So he'll work through that. But I'll tell you right now, I know Severe would much rather have him than our boy Eichenberg.
Oh my God! Who wouldn't?
There's been a no-show. That's been a no-show. Like where the hell is that kid?
Who wouldn't?
But did he play? I didn't see him.
I didn't see Lobby play either. Like, why is
Lobby did have a return, so he was at least returning some kickoff.
He had a return, but I don't think he had a rushing attempt. He had that Collier guy wasn't like what? Why?
Yeah. Opening kickoff. I see Collier number 33. I'm sitting there going, where'd that kid come from? I didn't even know he was on the team. I'll be dead honest. I had to look him up. Sean Johnson, I appreciate you coming up. And LS, always good seeing you in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. Victor, you coming up as well, and Robert Pena, man, always good. Appreciate you always checking in with us. Remember, guys, if you have a question or a response to what we're talking about, hit that hashtag Raiders, and I'll definitely try to pull it up. But again, as everybody's coming through, we're gonna look at the stats. We're gonna talk about some of the players that did break out this game, maybe some players that we might want to bring back. we'll definitely take a look at Aiden O'Connell. So if we got any Aiden O'Connell fans in here, man, I'll tell you, I think the Aiden O'Connell talk going into this offseason is just going to run wild. But we're also going to look at the current draft status as well as some of the top prospects for next year. And I think it was, who was it? Let's see. It was Jason Marshall. I think it was. You talking about Cam DeBrock? We'll see. Raider Nation Jason, I appreciate you pulling up, man. Make sure you guys go over there and hit the subscribe button to him as well. He always throws out content for everybody. And Mark, finally in the building. And yes, AOC, we're going to talk about it. Don't you worry. But, first and foremost, Severe, let's talk about just this game, right? Saints, we come out. It was a slow start. I think we just talked about it before we jumped on. Carlson, he banged it, 4 or 5 field goals. Definitely should have bet the over on field goals made by Carlson. But, a little bit of a slow start on both sides, but that was kind of that was expected. You got Spencer Rattler, rookie, coming in. But, man, what's kind of some of your thoughts on the game against the Saints?
Yeah, man. It was kind of as you said, it was a push and pull with me. Just because, I know how valuable this draft position is, but, the Raiders are my team, right? So I always want to see them play well. Aiden came out there, played really well. Amir Abdullah, he was running well from the opening snap. Like that guy was running hard. The offensive line looked pretty good.
Decent,
yeah. And that's with some playing time from both Whitehair is in there, and Andre James in there at different times. I know we gave up that sack early in the game. That was I think Cam Jordan beat Michael Mayer on that play, it was another play. I think he beat somebody early in the game as well when they were in that goal line stand. But for the most part, man, offensive line did a pretty good job. And
Cam Jordan got Michael Mayer twice because that was Michael Mayer on the goal line.
Yeah.
That he pushed back and was able to make that play.
Yeah. And Chase Young, I think he got Brock a few times too. So, it's, anytime you have these tight ends trying to block, uber talented edge guys, it's a difficult situation. But our core 5 offensive linemen, I think they actually did a pretty solid job today.
Yeah. And that's the thing is the one good thing is that our defense, they did come to play. Right, we got beat on that one trick pass, that little double pass, which I'll tell you right now, that double pass trick play was executed to perfection.
Yes,
when you look at, I think it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire that got the pitch or the handoff and then threw it back. That was a clean throwback to Rattler, and that route by Foster Moreau kind of bent it to the corner, but then bent it back to the back of the end zone. Spencer Rattler threw just a dime. We're gonna throw a dime. Where's our boy My 2 Cents? We haven't seen My 2 Cents in a little bit.
I know, yeah.
But great throw. Just executed well. But that was the only touchdown. Outside of that got 3 points, and so the defense came to play. You're going into New Orleans. It's an away game. The defense performed exactly how they were supposed to. So it was definitely good to see that the defense can come out and ball. And I'll tell you, we will break down film this week. I'm back home. I'm back in my normal environment, so definitely can jump on and do those things. But our boy Tyree looked like he was involved in some plays. He actually looked like he was. There was one where there was a little quick hitch route to the near sideline, and he actually got to the sideline and made a tackle. It looked like he was kind of coming down the line of scrimmage and making some plays. And so I was pretty surprised to see Tyree make a couple plays.
I think he was in there. I think he got half a sack. I think him and Adam Butler shared a sack today. Hey, go Tyree trying to kick up a little dust at the end of the year. I see him.
but the film don't lie. So we'll definitely take a look at it and just see what was it that he was unblocked.
Exactly.
Like we've seen before. So East Coast Gridiron, man. I appreciate you coming through. Make sure you guys go over there and hit that subscribe button as well for him. He likes to break down film a lot.
Yeah, man. He had a good show last night too. He had a good show last night.
And so let's see who else is in there. Daniel Kim, man, I appreciate you coming up, man. It's always good seeing you. Lake Show Raider in the building as well, man. Appreciate you checking in. A couple more, man. Steve Jones in the building as well. Appreciate you coming up. And Chaos Raider as well. Appreciate you coming through. Again, we're gonna get into the stats right now. We're gonna talk about some players that did well. But just as a reminder, as everybody's kind of trickling in, we're gonna make sure that we're gonna go through Tankathon, our draft position, some top prospects. We'll definitely get into the quarterback talk as well. So first, let's kind of break down these stats a little bit. Let me know. Make sure everybody can see the screen, but. Let's talk about Aiden O'Connell because we've already got a couple people talking about Aiden O'Connell. So let me know in the comments, guys. Do you think Aiden O'Connell will be the quarterback next year? We have, because of the win, we have now dropped in the draft position. So getting one of those top two quarterbacks, if you want them, may not be attainable. Again, get ready for all the trade talks, the trading a player away to move up, all that craziness. Just get ready for that. Because if you want to move, that's what's going to happen. But you got Aiden O'Connell, 20 of 35, 242 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? He had the one touchdown two. I think it was we had touchdown two. It was, let's see,
Trey Tucker,
Jacoby Myers, and Trey Tucker, right? Jacoby got the first one. Trey Tucker got the catch towards the tail end.
Corner of the end zone.
Yeah. And so, look, Aiden O'Connell, I think at the very least, he's making a point that he's going to compete. It's really that simple. You know, it doesn't matter if we draft somebody, if we bring in a free agent of some sort, but at the end of the day, Aiden O'Connell, he is going to compete. He was able to extend some plays a little bit, made some good throws, made some very questionable throws. There were some throws. I think it was that deep drag route or dig route to Jacoby Myers that was completely behind him.
Yeah.
You know, and so you would think, you know, with him, they got the chemistry now. But what are your thoughts on Aiden O'Connell, man?
I think he played a solid game. You know, there were a few errant throws out there, but for the most part, you know, I think he was accurate. He was on time. He evaded the rush when I know he did take one bad sack, if I recall. But for the most part, you know, he moved well in the pocket. I think he saw the rush well. I think he played well, man. I think he played well. Okay, you can't really take anything away from him, right? He played within the confines of the offense. He didn't really try to do too much. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. And you know, he kept us on schedule. You know, having a run game, I think that really helped us out a lot. I guess the only complaint I would say is that, you know, there was a long stretch there where we kind of went away from Brock Bowers. But other than that, man, I think he did what he needed to do. And you know, we came out with the win.
Yeah, I mean, some people are definitely saying you got LS. If AOC is the quarterback going to next season, I'm drinking a thermometer full of mercury. It's going to be a struggle, you know what I'm saying? Because I think Aiden O'Connell isn't showing us anything that he's going to take us to the promised land. But you know, he is making a point. But LS, he's saying Severe can't send supers on your channel.
Okay, I gotta check that out. I see what's going on. I think somebody else said that as well. I think Steve said that too. I don't know what's going on.
I think it was on the last live that we did last weekend. Mosa Raider, I appreciate you coming in. He said he's going to win next week too. I think he's going to win next week too. I think he deserves a shot next year. If you can come out and beat the Chargers, I'll tell you right now, it's going to divide the Raider Nation more than we've ever seen. If he comes out and beats the Raiders and we get a win against the Chargers, yeah, we're going to be in for a long off season with people bantering back and forth. Let's see. I'm just looking for other comments regarding people are talking about the draft and the prospects going in. Yeah, it's going to be. I'm not a big fan of this draft class, but we'll definitely talk about it. Let's see.
It's not last year's class.
No, it's not. Daniel Kim, he's already saying, I think we dodged a bullet and not having to draft Sanders, maybe Ward.
I know about Ward. Maybe Sanders, if you want to judge him off this last performance. but Ward put up 200 and 3 touchdowns in the half. So it's like it's like
I'm telling you. I mean, again, I said it before. If I were to take one, I would take Cam Ward. But we'll talk about quarterbacks in just a second. Like Show Raider, you're saying if he is, I won't be here for it. I'll be rooting for another team. I can't take this mediocrity anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, man, it's tough. We've gone through a lot of years with just mediocre quarterbacks, and it's going to happen. John B, man, your boy's not here. I'm just letting you know. He's enjoying a game with his old man with his pops, so he'll be back with us. But
the greatest sports rivalry.
you ain't got no one to battle with today, but appreciate you coming through. And so let's go in. We're gonna go the running game. Amir Abdullah, 20 carries, 115 yards. What I heard is I think this is Amir Abdullah's first 100-yard game of his career.
I think since 2017. Since 2017. Yeah.
So, this is one guy we definitely need to talk about. And Jeff, man, any Raider boosters, I appreciate you coming in the building as well. Appreciate you pulling up. Alex M, I see you, man. Yes, meaningless win. Appreciate you coming in. Amir Abdullah is definitely a guy because look, our backfield is a mess right now. We definitely need to bring in somebody, whether it be through free agency or we draft somebody. But I'll tell you right now, Amir Abdullah has been doing his thing all season long. Definitely. And I think we brought him in on a 1-year contract. I was excited when we brought him in because I thought a great veteran presence, a great third down back, and it looks like he's got more in the tank. Mm-hmm. Even though he's kind of up there in age. And because we might have to bring in a young running back in the draft, maybe even through free agency, I definitely think this is a guy we prioritize to try to bring him back in, even if you overpay a little bit, because Dylan Labe remains to be seen what this kid has, and we haven't even tried him. We haven't even tested him
at all.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think Amir Abdullah is definitely a guy that we can prioritize. Yes, you might pay a little bit more, but based on what he's been doing this season, I'd be willing to pay a little bit more just to kind of bring in his abilities and his veteran presence. Severe, what's your thoughts on that?
If I felt that we were closer to winning, I would be down for that. But I think he's 30 or 31 years old. I don't know. So I'm not sure if he fits in with our timeline. Him doing what he did today, though, and what he brings to special teams, I think that's where it's kind of like, you know what? I think he's a very valuable special teams contributor. Both, he does returns for us, and he's on the coverage units as well. And he does a hell of a job on the coverage units. So I think that's where his most value is. And like you said, as a veteran presence, especially if we bring in a young running back. But I think where our pump the brakes is, I'm not, overpaying him. If somebody offers him more money, hey, let him walk.
So I guess when I say overpay, I'm saying by a little bit. I'm not breaking the bank.
Not breaking the bank. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I do love the fact that what he can bring to potentially, if we do have a rookie quarterback, if we have a young quarterback, he's a good safety blanket a little bit. You get kind of in that 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 type of situation. And what he's proven this year is that he can kind of scat his way through to a first down, even if it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, and so I definitely just like what he brings in his ability to move the chains in that mid-range 3rd down scenario. And that just builds confidence for a young quarterback. If we have one, it builds confidence for a young quarterback where you can kind of bail him out, move the chains, and now we're still moving. It also helps with the defense, kind of make sure that defense gets a little bit of a rest as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, yes, Dan and Kim, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. I got the Severe Raider on top. Make sure you guys go over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Real Talk Raider Nation, 805 Raider. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're at. We try to hit you guys post-game. We also try to hit you guys during the week for some film review. We break down the film of the previous game. We couldn't do it last week. That's on me. Just holidays. I'm seeing family. Was out of my comfort zone, not at home, but
out there with the in-laws, man.
Yeah, in-laws, fam, the whole nine. And so I appreciate those guys jumping on and let me get away for a second. But But at the same time, we do hit you guys in the middle of the week, making sure we break down some film because there's definitely things you can take from film. So make sure you guys turn on those notifications so you also get hit with that. Alexander Mattson, 10 yards or 10 carries for 32 yards. Look, another guy that, man, I just don't think he's in our future whatsoever. Definitely got to. I think we move on from him. Obviously, Zamir White was our slotted to be the starter this year, and he has not shown much. And so we'll definitely be targeting a running back going into the offseason.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers, 7 receptions, 77 yards, no touchdowns, but man, he broke a bunch of records. Man, got to give credit where credit's due. It's always good. Seeing us utilize and capitalize on a young rookie, definitely in his first year. So here's my question. We already talked about Amir Abdullah definitely helping out in the passing game a little bit. 3 receptions, 32 yards. Jacoby Myers, 5 for 61. Here's the big question is, now that we've dropped a little bit, what's your thoughts, Severe? Do we prioritize a number 1 receiver potentially in the draft? Now that we've dropped a little bit, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, right now, depending on where we're at, I know we're gonna take a look at Tankathon later on. We're truly in best player available territory. I mean, if Teteroa McMillan is there, I think you go with them. Luther Burden is generally depending on how you feel about Travis Hunter. Generally people have order receivers in Trav, Teteroa, then Luther Burden. So depending on how you feel about Luther Burden, maybe you go after him. But it's best player available at this point. There's some receivers I think they will be there in the second round as well. So if you want to go BPA first round and take the best available receiver in the second round, maybe do something like that. But yeah, man, if Teteroa's not there, I'm not sure if I want to take Luther Burden in the first round or Isaiah Bond or I forgot the other guy that's the first rounder as well.
Yeah, guys in the chat, let me know if there's a receiver that you guys like potentially in the first round. Let me know. I'm still trying to go through these. Remember, if you guys have a question or just a response to anything that we're talking about, hit that hashtag Raiders so I could definitely try to bring you up. We definitely got some. We're talking. Jason Marshall has Najee Harris, a drafted running back. Najee Harris has done better this year. I'm just struggling on whether or not I'd want to pull a trigger on him, especially depending on what he's going to be asking for. It depends on the price tag, to be honest. But I'm just not the biggest Najee Harris fan, to be honest. And then Alec M is saying Aaron Jones should be available for us. Is he on a 1 year? I'm assuming he's on a 1 year.
Yeah, I think he's on a 1 year with Minnesota.
So I'll ask you real quick on those running backs, Severe, but big shout out, John Leon. I appreciate you coming through, as well as Ritter. Straight from Hawaii, man. I appreciate you coming up as well. But Severe, what's your thoughts on Aaron Jones or Najee Harris?
I like Aaron Jones. Najee Harris, he's hit or miss for me. I know he's a Bay Area guy, so that's why a lot of Raider fans have affinity for him because he's from the Bay Area. So they kind of want. I think he grew up a Raiders fan too, but I think it's the first year where he's really, really played well, and the rest of his career has been pretty underwhelming. He doesn't really offer much as a pass catcher either. And there have been several games this year where Jalen Warren has been the better of those backs. There have been some games where Cordell Patterson has been better. So I'm not sure about Najee. If we can get him for the like a very cheap deal, I take a chance on him. But other than that, I'd go with the younger guy.
Yeah, and Sean Johnson, we're talking about now. We're kind of back talking about receivers. He's saying Tataria McMillan. Again, not even sure if he'll be there. If he drops to where we're at currently, then I think in a heartbeat I take him. But yeah, not sure if he'll be there, but we'll definitely take a look at the tankathon and the draft stats in just a second. So let's go over to defense. Robert Spillane, once again, leading the team in tackles this game. Should have had the pick. Had an easy sack. He was unblocked. He just got in there. Great scheme up by Patrick Graham. DC Richardson looked like he had a decent day. Didn't see too much. He had that one pass defense on the far sideline on the deep out route. Did a good job. Technique wasn't very good. He kind of he broke he broke in the wrong direction, but it's okay. Had some recover speed to get there. Man, Nate Hobbs, man, I'm watching the game and I'm sitting there going, I didn't even know Nate Hobbs was out there half the damn time.
Yeah.
But
he didn't get. I mean, I know he made that one nice tackle on. I want to say on third down, saved it from a
that was
first
later
down.
in the game.
Yeah, it was later in the game. Yeah.
But let's take a look at Caleb Von Chasen. He got himself a sack. I think this is one guy that I think we got to prioritize. Definitely. Because, again, it remains to be seen. It's up in the air what Malcolm Kuntz is going to do. He's a free agent coming off of a season-ending injury very early. You know, he's not a Tom Telesco guy. Tom Telesco never brought him in, and so it kind of remains to be seen kind of what we do. So what's your thoughts, man? Do we prioritize Caleb Von Chasen moving forward to play opposite of Max Crosby?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to bring Chasen back. I want to bring Kuntz back as well. I would like to bring both of those guys back. I don't think you can ever have too many pass rushers, especially with the up and down play, let's say, of Tyree Wilson. So I would want both of those. I would want both of those guys back. But Chasen is definitely a guy I think we should bring back. And the fact that we are the team that that brought him in, gave him the playing time, believed in him. I think he'll be keen to come back with us. Now, if somebody drops a load of money, in his driveway, of course he's going to. If they back up that Brinks truck, he's going to go elsewhere. But I think on a fair market deal, I definitely think he'll be back with us.
Yeah, I mean, look, based on what he did last year, and as long as he can recover, and a lot of these injuries, these athletes do recover much better than they did 10, 15 years ago. And so based on what he ended with last year, I do think you can prioritize him, like you're saying, at the right price. But just want to say what's up to everybody else in the chat. I appreciate everybody coming through. E190, I appreciate you coming up. I'm going to make sure I want to get Castro Raider in the building as well. Appreciate you. Robert Davila coming in the building. I appreciate you pulling up. Dave, appreciate checking in as well. Joe Barber in the building as well. Appreciate you coming through. MEZ Box, always good seeing you in here as well. And I think Victor, I don't know if I said what's up to you, man, but I appreciate you coming through. Yeah, so look, there's going to be a lot of talks when we talk about players that we need to re-sign and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, we got to kind of put our manager's hat on, our front office hat on, when we talk about players, because you also got to look at free agency as well as the draft and who we want to bring in. But definitely some players on this defensive line. I'll tell you, Jonah Lalu, I didn't see him too much this game, but in weeks past, he's definitely done some work. And then another guy that's always all over the place, a guy that we need to continue to watch is Adam Butler. I think Adam Butler is definitely a guy we got to prioritize come back, because if Christian Wilkins comes back, those two guys side by side can be an absolute beast.
Yeah, facts. Now I know Laulu. I know he had that. He had that holding penalty. I want to say on a big play too. That got ended up being called back. He got held. And if not for that, I forgot what play it was. But yeah, I remember distinctly him being held, and that's what caused them to take like big yardage off the board for the Saints. So he's out there still hustling.
He is. And Jake Long, I don't know if I said what's up to you. I appreciate you coming up. Kamala Love in the building as well. Appreciate you checking in. The dark side coming through. Appreciate you guys. Let's see. We got Chandra. I guess he goes in draft top five running backs are Gentry, Marion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson, and Cam Scabota.
Cam Scatterbo.
Got it. You know what? I'm telling you, if you go best available and we drop, Gentry can potentially still be there, and we'll see if it could pull the trigger. James Williams, appreciate you pulling up. Would you bring back Jack Jones?
Man, Jack Jones actually had a good game today. He actually had a good game today. He had to pick. There's another play I want to say he made. He actually played pretty well today.
He did. But again, it's he is that player that is just, I mean, you either get a good game or you just get a game that he gets beat on double moves all day long. Like it's just,
Yeah.
And I think this is the conclusion that I've come to Jack Jones is against young, inexperienced quarterbacks, there's a good chance that he's going to be able to bait them. He's going to be able to do well against those young, inexperienced quarterbacks. But the experienced ones, the Patrick Mahomes, the guys that have been around the block, that understand how to watch film, break him down, I feel like they're going to expose him. And I think that's what we're seeing this year is that the veteran quarterbacks are going to understand how to expose just his ability to be undisciplined. And that's what's scary. You know what I'm saying? And so don't let him fool you when he does well against young, inexperienced rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can kind of put it, unfortunately. So you got a lot of people. Jack Jones is trash. And we have some we got to address it. We got Jacorian Bennett that's on season-ending IR, so he can come back and hopefully he can be that number one. But man, that number two, it's either DC Richardson or Jack Jones, potentially fighting for that number two, or we potentially bring somebody in. So, last but not least, got to give love to the kicking game, man. Carlson, 4 for 4. Again, should have bet the over. It's good to see him. He had some struggles earlier in the year, and it's good to see him kind of just regain that confidence, that momentum to just prove that he's one of the best kickers in the NFL. I mean, he was nailing them. He was nails.
He actually missed the extra point. I want to say this is the first extra point he's missed in a long time.
But I think it was blocked. It was blocked.
It was blocked. Yeah, it was blocked. But this is the first one he hasn't converted in a long time. I don't remember how long, but I know they talked about it in the previous game. It's been a long time since he hasn't converted an extra point. So been Mr. Consistency there.
He has been Mr. Consistency for a long time, but it's good to see him kind of get back to his ways. All right, so we're gonna jump into Tankathon. We're gonna jump into our draft status. All right. So with that win, we now officially dropped down to number 8. We were 6 last week. We're now at 8. The Giants actually won.
Yeah.
And
the Jags.
But Jags and Tennessee, they were going to play each other.
Yes, we kind of knew.
So we knew one of them were going to drop. The Jets end up jumping in front of us. Carolina. Man, now we're sitting at number 8. Again, there's going to be all those people that continuously say, I think there was a comment last week basically saying if you want to lose, you're basically a loser. That's a loser's mentality, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that, look, we are now at number 8. Not sure what's going to happen next week. Most likely going to end up, losing to the Chargers, but we'll see. It's always a battle.
Yeah.
But now we're completely out of range to get potentially a top quarterback if you're one of those that want to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to give up a ton of draft capital to move up. And now all of a sudden we're going to hear the talks of trading away certain players to compile draft capital. But now that we're number 8, man, Severe, I'll throw it to you first, man. What's your initial thoughts on us sitting at number 8?
It's just terrible, man. It is terrible. This is not a quarterback class that I feel comfortable moving heaven and earth to move up for a guy. Cam Ward is my number 1 guy this year, but I'm not trading multiple first round picks to move up for him. I was completely comfortable doing that last year for Jaden Daniels. I'm not, even for Michael Penix, I was comfortable moving up for Michael Penix. I'm not comfortable moving up for either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. So at 8, we have to stick and pick. And as we said, with this not being a class where there are going to be a lot of quarterbacks taken, probably only those 2 in the first round, that there's less of a chance to get a super impact player at 8. We got lucky last year with 6 quarterbacks going. Like that puts the very good positional player or skill players down the board. That's why we're able to get a guy like Brock Bowers, at where we're picking. It's not the case this year. So
And it took some unexpected moves, right? No one thought Atlanta was going to get Michael Penix.
exactly.
Like it took some unexpected moves for
Yeah.
guys to drop like Brock Bowers.
Exactly. So, people keep thinking like, oh, it's just pick best player available. Like that's not necessarily going to that's necessarily the formula that's going to work, right? So, because we're not going to get the same level of player that low as we were able to get last year. So, there's all those people that wanted Genty. Like there's a possibility that we get Genty. Like that is a possibility.
It's a real possibility now. And so here's my thing is there's a lot of people saying like the dark side. He said we need to stick with Aiden O'Connell next year, and go after Arch Manning and 2026 draft. One of the guys that I liked was Drew Aller. I really think that Drew Aller could be a good quarterback, but it was either he was going to sit an entire year or at least a minimum of 8 games and kind of learn just the NFL, or as soon as he came out and said that he was going to return to Penn State for one more year, I thought it was the best decision he could have made. Him staying one more year, getting one more year of experience, I think is huge for him. But here's the downside. As much as I liked Aller, hard part is you can't bank on next year, right? You can sit there and go, well, I'm gonna pick somebody else knowing that Archie Manning is coming up. What happens if he tears an ACL? What happens if you get injured? I mean, if you bank on that and then all of a sudden someone gets a career-ending injury or a major injury, now your whole future that you banked on is gone. So
Exactly.
I don't like sitting on the future of the next draft. I want to address it as it stands today. But if you're not a fan of a quarterback in this draft, then don't get a quarterback.
Exactly.
If you're not a fan of Shador, if you're not a fan of Cam Ward, if you are Tom Telesco, then just pass. If it's not your guy, then don't take it. And I think that's maybe what could have happened. I know that there was rumors that Tom Telesco would have pulled the trigger on Michael Penix or maybe even a Bo Nix if they were available.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if your guy's not there, if you're not high on these quarterbacks, which I think it's a fairly weak quarterback class as a whole, then you don't grab your guy. You don't go after quarterback.
Yeah.
That's kind of my opinion. But as we sit at 8, yes, I do think that Gentry is now. He's in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely.
Because looking at this, Tennessee very well could pick a quarterback.
Yes.
The Giants are going to get a quarterback.
Yes.
Cleveland, I know Deshaun Jackson or Deshaun Watson just restructured.
Yeah.
So maybe they hold on to him. You got Jacksonville, not going to get a quarterback. Are there any rumors that Doug Johnson is going to be still the head coach?
Doug Peterson, I doubt if he lasts. I think Black Monday. I think he's gone. I think he's gone as soon as they can. And I don't think, unlike a lot of people, I don't think Cleveland restructuring Deshaun Watson, I don't think that excludes them from selecting the quarterback. I think that was just more salary cap type stuff. And I still think they're very much in play for a quarterback.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Jeff, Raiders Boosters, you're saying we can't afford to lose picks to move up in the first for either quarterback, and so I'm not a big fan of moving up when you're going to basically ship off your future, right? It's not just about getting the quarterback, in my opinion. It's not just about getting the quarterback. You also have to build around the quarterback. You need to bring in assets. You need to bring in, players at certain positions. They're going to help the quarterback thrive. You look at what's happened with Caleb Williams. They brought in a bunch of offensive weapons when it comes to receivers with Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze. They brought those guys in, but he's running for his absolute life. And if they can't square away this offensive line, he's never going to find success, you know? And so, Severe, I'll throw it to you real quick. What's your thoughts on trading up in the draft? Even though Tom Telesco, that's not his MO. He does not move up in drafts. But what's your thought process of moving up in the draft?
You have to be sold on the guy completely. You have to be sold. Like, there were two guys last year I was completely willing to move up for, as I said before. And that was Jaden, that was Michael Penix. Even though Caleb was considered like the number one QB, I would not have moved up for Caleb Williams. Only two guys I would be willing to move up for at quarterback last year were Jaden and were Michael Penix. And if the regime isn't sold on either Shador or Cam being the future of the franchise, then they'll move up for him, right? Like, they don't even select them if they're there. You if trade back if that's the case. You know, if you're in position to take one of them and you don't feel that they're the guy that can be the face of your franchise, that can be the guy that leads your organization going forward, then I stay away from him. You know, I know quarterback is the overdrafted position. They're extremely valuable in the first round, and that's why teams like, you know, even though there are some teams in front of us that may not select a quarterback, if there are teams behind us that want a quarterback, then they are going to be apt to move up and possibly take one in front of us. So just because we're looking at it right now, and there may be a path for one of those guys to fall to us, there's likely going to be a team behind us that's willing to move up and take them. So, you know what, at this point, like I said, I'm not sold enough on either of these guys where I'm willing to move up. So it's best player available at 8.
I'm with you, and that was my biggest thing last year about even moving up to get Michael Penix. Right, there was a lot of teams that could have wanted him behind us, or even in front of us to jump in front of a certain team to get him. And my biggest thing is not only are you gonna have to give up a lot of draft capital, but there's gonna be a bidding war to go get this guy.
Yeah.
And at this point, if we sit at number 8, and let's say the Giants do want Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, and you got, I guess it was let's say Tennessee takes one of those quarterbacks, right? And then you got one of those quarterbacks sitting, New York Giants. If you want to trade up and get him, there's other teams that might want to jump in front of us, and now it becomes a bidding war. And that was my biggest concern last year, was because the quarterback class was so strong last year, it was going to be a bidding war. And I didn't want to get into that to where you literally give up the next 4 years of draft capital just to go get one guy, and then you have zero talent around him to help him out. And so I'm not sure how much that will be the case this year. I don't know how deep you'd have to reach into your draft capital to jump up, you know, a few spots if you needed to. But again, if we were to jump up, in my opinion, if we were to jump up a few spots, I would not do it for Shador Sanders. I've said this before on our shows that I don't think Shador Sanders is worth a top 10 pick. I'll be honest, I don't even know if he's worth a first round. That's just my opinion. If we were to jump up, I would pull the trigger on Cam Ward. If we jumped up a few spots, I'd be okay with it. I still don't like giving up draft capital, but I'd be okay with it. And so we got one. Jake Long, you're saying draft Dart in the second round. I gotta watch more on Jackson Dart. I haven't seen enough on him. Once after this Chargers game, I'm gonna start looking at all the quarterbacks.
I like Dart.
You like Dart?
I like Dart.
The one kid that I definitely want to look more on is Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon.
Yeah.
I definitely want to watch more film on him. The 3 guys that I was really paying attention to was Drew Waller, and then Cam and Shador, just because of the hype. But I was definitely watching more Drew Waller. But I'll definitely be looking at those guys once after that Chargers game. But what's your thoughts on Dylan Gabriel?
So Dylan Gabriel is listed at 5'11". That's a very generous, very generous. He's probably somewhere.
Yeah, he is. He is on the shorter side. That's for sure.
Probably like 5'9.5", 5'10". When you're that size, you need, in my opinion, elite physical traits. He has none of them. He's not overly fast. He has average arm strength. I think he's a good processor. I think he does well in those areas. I think he's accurate, all that stuff. But when you're in the NFL playing against some of the best athletes in the world, and you're 5'9.5", 5'10" at quarterback, and you don't have a very strong arm, you're not very fast. You're not physically imposing. Like, people talk about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, even though he was a shorter guy, he's built, right? You talk about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray from the waist down in terms of his legs, his calves, he's built, and he's probably one of the faster. He's probably top 15 fastest guys in the league, and he has an extremely strong arm, right? Like Dylan Gabriel, he has none of that. He plays the quarterback position well, and that's well and good in college. But that doesn't always translate to the NFL. Like Gardner Minshew was a guy that played quarterback extremely well in college, but he didn't have the physical traits for that to translate to the NFL, and we see how he struggled.
Yeah, we got Jason down. You're saying JJ McCarthy. I don't think there's any way in hell Minnesota comes off JJ McCarthy.
Yeah,
doesn't matter how well Sam Darnold does over there. Even if JJ McCarthy sits the next 2 seasons, I think that they still keep him. I mean, they drafted him first round. That's your guy. And you can see Minnesota potentially following the Green Bay blueprint, right? You let a quarterback sit for a season or 2, maybe even 3, and now he's finally ready. Sam Darnold, look, I don't know if he's going to be the future at all. I think there's a good chance Sam Darnold, it can be the Sam Darnold that gets exposed a little bit when crunch time comes around. So I think JJ McCarthy is still the future. I just personally don't see them coming off of him and trading him away. That just would make no sense in my opinion.
Yeah.
Severe. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't see them. I don't see them drafting JJ McCarthy just to trade him a year later. Unless they got a massive haul. And JJ McCarthy wasn't a guy I really liked coming out last year anyway, so I wouldn't be willing to. I don't want him last year, so I wouldn't want him now. He's a guy that like people. And this would be people talked about. Watch when Harbaugh gets to the league, he's going to do the same thing to Justin Herbert. Watch. He's never going to I've seen Justin Herbert. He puts the ball in Justin Herbert's hands a bunch. He did not put the ball in JJ McCarthy's hands a bunch, even in college. So I'm staying away from JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I'm with you. When it comes to trying to trade for him, yes, I'm with you 100%. Space Beast, I appreciate you coming up, man. Cleveland's picking quarterback. I mean, they could.
Yeah,
they could. But they may still roll with Deshaun Watson next year, but they could just prepare to moving off because I don't know exactly what that contract looks like, but I know that Deshaun Watson restructured and, you can get creative with contracts. That's for sure. Turf, man, you in the building. I appreciate you pulling up. Everybody, make sure you guys go over to Turf. Go over to Turf. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to him, man. Turf, I think I saw you going live for this game, man.
Yeah, he was.
Appreciate you, man. More power to you for going live. That's for damn sure. If possible, trade for Hendon Hooker.
I'd be interested in that. Depending on what they wanted, I'd be interested in that. I'm not trading anything high, like fifth. I'll trade the fifth for Hendon Hooker, take a flyer, especially since they just signed. What's my guy that went to Louisville?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater. They just signed Teddy Bridgewater to be the backup for the playoffs, essentially, because I don't think they don't want a rookie that's never started a game, in case of an injury. His first game to be a playoff game, which is understandable. We saw what happened with Connor Cook with that. So they brought in Bridgewater. So I take a flat means, and they signed off to that long contract, right? So I'm sure Hendon Hooker wants to go somewhere, and I'm sure he wants to play, or wants at least an opportunity to play, and he's not going to get the opportunity in Detroit. So I'm sure his representation would welcome a trade away from the Lions, and with our situation, I wouldn't mind him landing here.
Yeah, man. And here's the thing: is I think, and we got a lot of people. We were saying. I want to get to some of the Turf. Appreciate you. But let's see who's this. I just want to hit Turf shirt. Why people really hit there is being the Saints?
I bet.
I'm with you, Derek. I'm with you. Dart will still go in the first round. Weak quarterback class.
There's a possibility.
Well, yeah, we're gonna take a look at the actual draft class in just a second, guys. Dart's better than Gabriel. All right. Severe. How you feel about that?
I think he translates better to the NFL. I think his game translates better to NFL.
Jake Long saying he'll take Dart at 6'2". Yeah, with Dylan Gabriel at what? 5'10" at best?
5'10", yeah. 5'10" at best.
Edgar Bonilla, appreciate you coming to the building as well. You're saying that these quarterbacks were trading players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek, you're saying Dart's your sleeper. All right. Minko Velka, appreciate you coming through. Nolan Gabriel. All right. Let's see. Man, I'm telling you, this is what's going to be interesting. Is that now we're going to head into an off season where everybody is going to be kind of dividing on who they want to go with, because we still got some people that are all about Aiden O'Connell as well. Raider, why are you saying same height as Kyler? Man, that's tiny. If he's really the same height as Kyler,
yeah,
tiny. I mean, I don't.
Tiny. And he has none. He has none of the physical attributes of Kyler. Like, doesn't have the speed. Doesn't have the Kyler was a draft, was like MLB caliber, like shortstop or wherever he's going to play, right? So he has an arm. Like Dylan Gabriel, he doesn't have the same type of physical tools.
Jake Gabriel's a USFL. I mean, I don't think he's that bad. But good comment. But yeah, so I think a lot of people, and we're still seeing some guys. There was a comment earlier that basically saying they take Milroe as well, and so I'm definitely on the side of whatever quarterback that we get. I'd love to see them sit for minimum 8 games. Look at Spencer Radler. Spencer Radler had a pretty good game today for a rookie, right? Made some really good throws, made some mistakes, but again, you expect that from rookies. But man, I think he played a lot better than I think he got to start earlier in the season where it looked pretty rough. And it kind of just shows if you can allow a rookie to kind of sit and digest this game at the NFL level for as long as possible, I think it definitely helps any rookie. I could care less if you're the first overall pick or if you're a 5th round, rookie. I think it helps everybody. Either way. And so his Tik, Step, I appreciate you coming through, man. Appreciate it. Always good seeing you as well. And Jerry, for sure, I saw you earlier, but definitely want to say what's up, man. Appreciate you coming through. So let's take a look at real quick, because yes, no elite quarterbacks in this draft. Yeah, that's definitely yeah, I'm with you on that. 808 Splits Mode, appreciate you, man. Appreciate the subscribe, hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you guys, wherever you guys are at, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I got the Severe Raider joining me. Usually we have Chris over at Protect Show Podcast. He's usually rolling with us, but he went to go see a game with his pops, man. Got to take advantage of those times, but he'll definitely be back with us. But definitely good seeing everybody in the building. Got the Severe Raider up top. I'm 805 Raider, Real Talk, Raider Nation. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Realist Raider in the building. Tracy Tucker as well. Always good seeing everybody. Young DB94 in the building. I appreciate everybody coming up. Will Calhoun as well. What about getting Justin Fields?
About to get blocked. You about to get blocked.
Okay, so Will Calhoun, man, if you haven't been with us for a while, and I know Severe and I, we've had our conversations, and we all kind of know. Here's the thing is, I'm not a big Justin Fields fan. I think he's extremely inaccurate. I don't think that he moves the needle at all when it comes to quarterback play. I would almost ride with Aiden O'Connell instead of Justin Fields at this point, just because of the contract. I don't know what we'd have to pay Justin Fields, but I don't want to go out and have to pay him a decent money to just bring him in, to be dead honest. And that's just my opinion, because I just don't think he moves the needle. Could he be a little bit better than Aiden O'Connell? Possibly. But I also don't want to pay him more and still have that draft capital to allocate elsewhere in other areas of need. Severe, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and like I said, I just don't think he's that good. I don't think he's that good.
I don't think so either.
I think we saw as soon as Russell Wilson took over as starter for the Steelers, their offense instantly got better. Like instantly. Like that very first game against the Jets, they were instant. I think they instantly started producing offense. George Pickens instantly became more of a factor. Fire moves instantly more of a factor. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren both much better with Russell Wilson there than they were with Justin Fields. So I'm just not a fan of Justin Fields.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you got the only thing you got to remember, all right? And I'll only say this is that in Black and Gray Dot, I didn't know Milroe went to Oregon in the portal. So is he staying?
No, I don't think he went to Oregon. There's speculation. They haven't played their bowl game yet. They're supposed to play Michigan in the bowl game. So
the only thing I will say about Justin Fields is the only thing to take into consideration is one, he had some success in the beginning with the Steelers, and you got to remember that a lot of times defensive coordinators trying to figure out what is this offensive coordinator trying to do with new talent, right? And so defensive coordinators kind of going blind into brand new games with new quarterbacks, and so they're going to try to figure it out. It's going to take 2-3 games at least to try to figure out what the strategy is with the new quarterback. And so that's when quarterbacks can find success. That's why a lot of times when a backup quarterback gets the start for the very first time, maybe 6 games into a season, look at what, Andy Dalton did to us. He came in and just went up and down the field, but then all of a sudden he went back to regular Andy Dalton. So sometimes either new in a season, when you have an OC with a brand new quarterback, sometimes those quarterbacks can find success just because defenses are trying to figure out what quarterbacks are trying to do and what the strategy is. And then you get figured out, and then you kind of fall back down to earth. So just keep that in mind with Justin Fields' success in the beginning. There was another comment that I saw, and it kind of opens up the door. BG909, hopefully I pronounced that right. You said add Max Crosby for the first pick in your 2 first-round picks, and we got a deal.
What are you talking about, Mickey?
So I'm thinking he's saying include Max Crosby for the first pick and your 2 first-round picks. So you're saying that we acquire the first pick and the team's additional 2 for Max, so we're getting 3 first rounds and we give him ours, like a first round swap.
No, I think he's saying trade Max and our 2 first round picks to the Patriots for the number 1 overall pick, which I'm not doing it all. I'm not doing it all.
So
I'm not doing it all.
The only thing I will say to this is what's going to start to happen. We now are number 8. And these are going to be the things that people are going to start talking about, trading away players, whether it be a Max Crosby, whether it be a Robert Spillane, even Colton Miller, maybe, Jacoby Myers. Like now the talks are going to happen because everybody's going to want to jump up because there's still people high on Cam Ward, high on Shedeur Sanders. This is where the talks are going to start. And it's already starting. So let's do this. Just want to make sure I'm hitting everybody that's new to the chat. Tyler McNair, I appreciate you coming through as well. Sean Johnson, you're saying, would you trade for a quarterback, Matthew Stafford? Depending on what that trade looks like. Like I would give up probably because you got to take on that contract too.
Yes.
And I don't know what that contract exactly looks like, but I know it ain't cheap. That's all I know. No. I'd give up a 4th. If the Rams would be willing to take it, I'd give up a 4th. Now, we do have 2 number 3s because of the Devontae Adams trade, but I'd give up a 4th. A 3rd would be if he came in and restructured.
Yeah.
So, Severe, what's your thoughts on that?
I'd be comfortable giving up a 4th. I would just say that if the Rams are willing to move on from him, then I think that says a lot right there. Especially if their backup is Jimmy Garoppolo, so like if they're willing to if they're willing to move on from Matthew Stafford, then I think that's very telling. So I think I would stop it at about a 4th. But in terms of talent, I mean, he's still a very talented passer. I think he still get it done, but yeah, I'm not giving up too much. And in terms of his contract, I think there was some issues about his contract. I want to say to begin this year, there's no guaranteed money left, so there might be a fracture between him and the organization. I believe that was beginning of this year. So I don't know what his deal looks like. I don't know if they helped him or hooked him up, gave him some or restructured or anything like that. But I know he did have some issues about not having guaranteed money.
Yeah. And then LS, man, I appreciate the super chat. You're saying Rourke will end up being the best quarterback in this draft. Yeah, it remains to be seen. I got to do more homework on Rourke because he's that Indiana quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. And so I got to do definitely some more homework on that kid, and I definitely will.
Yeah.
But you're saying
as soon as Rourke played like real competition, he fell apart. He played Ohio State, they got stomped. Played in a bowl game, they got stomped. So I mean, like, people want to criticize. Like, he's like, as soon as they played real comp, he was no good.
And here's my thing: is I don't, when you play good competition, like it happens all the time, and if you fall off, that doesn't mean that you are going to be the worst. You know what I'm saying? Like you just don't know how talent matches up across the board, and so, some of the things, and just so you guys know, that's why last year before the draft, I put out a video just saying that I really liked Bo Nix, and it wasn't because of his win record or anything like that, or just the results of his game. It was basically some other attributes. It's ball placement, his accuracy, the amount of games he started, just his experience, his mobility, stuff like that. Those are the things that I look at when I evaluate quarterbacks, because there's a lot of times where second, third, fourth, fifth round quarterbacks can end up being really good. And so it's not always about the win-loss record, but LS, man, I'll definitely check him out. 808 Spliff Mode, you're saying give Max his guaranteed money. I know that he went on and talked about his guaranteed money that he doesn't have, but I think his guaranteed money is out. So he's definitely he's interested as to kind of how this offseason is going to go, I think. Sean Johnson, you're saying very sneaky offensive coordinator. He's 32. Tommy Reese, should look him up. I did some research yesterday. Impressed. Okay, I'll look up. You're saying Tommy Reese. I'm definitely gonna be doing my research after next week. That's for sure.
Fact.
Let's see. All right, so let's do this again. I'm trying to get through all the comments, man. I appreciate you guys. If you guys have a comment based on what we're talking about and everything, you want me to bring it up, make sure you guys hit that hashtag Raiders, and it'll catch my eye, because, man, you guys are flying with the chat. I appreciate you guys. Let's go to. We're gonna go through the draft prospects, and I'm gonna blow this up a little bit so you guys can see it. All right. Not sure if you guys can see it. It might be hard to see, but let's talk just a little bit about the draft prospects, because you guys just saw we're sitting at number 8. And JC, you're saying pay Max. Yeah. You got to lock them in, right? That's the one thing that you can. It's not about talk, but it's also about making sure that you lock people in. Money talks, as we all say. But we got basically, this is just kind of the top 10 prospects. You got Travis Hunter at number 1, Ashton Gentry number 2, Shedeur Sanders at number 3, Kelvin Banks. Now, here's the thing. Now that we're sitting at number 8, there are definitely some. We could potentially, everybody talks about possibly moving on, trading a player to improve your draft stock. We could move on with a Colton Miller, and potentially try to improve the draft stock a little bit. But you got offensive tackle Kelvin Banks, you got Cam Ward sitting at number 5. Now, here's my thing, and again, I'll try catch up in the chat, but what's your guys' thought? Chat, let me know. Hit that hashtag Raiders and let me know so it catches my eye. What's your thoughts on Cam Ward sitting out the second half? I think it was 28-28, I believe, at halftime. And Cam Ward decided to basically sit out, opt out for the second half, and obviously just ride his way into the draft. But what were your thoughts on Cam Ward sitting out?
Man, I mean, I personally didn't have a problem with it. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but at that point, like what is he really playing? What is he really playing for? There's like several starters for that team that didn't play at all. Like Xavier Restrepo, who's their number one receiver, didn't play. And I want to say a few of the other guys that are going to be coming out of the draft this year. I think I want to say that they sat out the second half as well, just because at that point. I mean, I just think about Jalen Smith. I think about Jalen Smith from Notre Dame. Legit, probably the number one player in that draft class. I think he plays their bowl game, destroys his knee, and he's never the same guy again. Like if I'm going to be a highly drafted guy, I'm not gonna put myself at in any unnecessary risk. I went out there, I put up 200, I put up 3 touchdowns, and I think I did enough to kind of help try to help you guys win. At that point, I got to think about my future.
And so as soon as because I wasn't watching the game, I had to record it because I was driving home yesterday and I was on the road. And so all of a sudden I'm getting pinged about Cam Ward opting out at halftime, and everybody had comments, right? They're like, this is the guy you want, a guy that gives up on his team. And I'm sitting there going, look, Severe, and you made the comment that I was thinking of is he was out three out of his 4 top receivers. His number one receiver, Restrepo, he was out.
Yeah.
And I think he clearly proved everything he wanted to prove in that first half.
Yeah.
You put up 28 points. I mean, there was one clip that I saw where he basically was as calm, cool, and collected you could ever see in someone in the pocket. And he just dumps it off to his running back to the far side. And I'm just sitting there going, he went to Miami with business intentions.
Yeah.
And he handled his business. And at the end of the day, he's making sure that he is going to have the best chance at optimizing his draft stock, and he did it. He did what he had to do. And what was really cool is I was watching because when I got home, I recorded the game, so I watched it. What was really cool is it didn't look like his teammates had any issues with it. He was still high-fiving teammates. Teammates were coming over, high-fiving him coming off the field, stuff like that. And so I think his teammates understood kind of what his situation was. And so and he was still on the sideline. He was still cheering on his team. So honestly, in my opinion, I have no issues with it. I don't think it's going to hurt his draft stock. I think if anything, what he did at the beginning of that game with 3 out of his 4 starting receivers out kind of nailed what his draft status should be.
No, definitely.
So, but you got defensive tackles, Mason Graham. So as it stands right now, let's see, where's that? So you got that Arizona receiver at number 6. If we stay at number 8 and he drops a little bit, that's a guy that I think we would probably pull the trigger on pretty quickly.
Definitely. Definitely.
Because you don't have many. Again, if the quarterbacks go early, Ashton Gentry, if he drops again, running backs they drop. People project them to go somewhere and they end up dropping. So I think the 2 guys on this list, chat, let us know if there's anybody on this list that you see that could potentially drop. But I think between Ashton Gentry and McMillan, if those 2 guys drop and we're still sitting at 8, I think those are the 2 guys that I'd probably pull the trigger on. If for some weird reason Cam Ward didn't drop. What's your thoughts, man?
And the Will Campbell. I think Will Campbell is another tackle. I don't see him even in the top 10, but he some people he's the top tackle in this draft. So there's a possibility that he hops up there and he's drafted early too. So there's a chance that one of these guys are going to fall to us. So it depends on who it is. Like Mason Graham is a guy that I think he has potential to be one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive players in this draft. I don't even see Will Johnson. Oh, he's Will Johnson there at 10. Will Johnson is another guy. People want to get rid of Jack Jones. Will Johnson, in terms of pure corners, he's my number one pure. He was my number one player. Like heading into this college season, he was the number one player on my board, regardless of position. So he's a guy that's I think could be an impact guy from day one as well. And he's 6. You see right there, at 6'2", 200 pounds at corner. He's lockdown guy too. And great ball skills, all that stuff. I think he just had an injury this past year, so I think that's going to hurt him a little bit. But he's a guy that could be available for us at 8 too. So I mean, there are some options there. None of them are going to have the same impact as a good quarterback, but at this point, we can't control that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat, man. I appreciate everybody responding to it. It looks like everybody's kind of on the same page that they understand and they're cool with Cam Ward, sitting out at the end of the half. It was good that he just played. He could have easily opted out. And imagine if he opted out of that bowl game, and then Shedeur Sanders had the game that he had, which was not a very good game. It really wouldn't have changed anything, but for him to play that first half in that Miami game and show off what he did, man, that's pretty damn good. And you got some people in here. That's one of the things I in my opinion, I think separates one of the things between Cam and Shedeur is man, Cam Ward's got a hell of an arm. I mean, he can clearly throw any ball that's needed.
Yeah.
On that field. And so one of the things that kind of clears.
There's that one play, I think it was the first quarter. We had that free rusher. He avoids the sack, he rolls right, and then just drops it, right over the shoulder of the defender, right into his receiver's arms. I'm like, that's a high level play right there. High level play.
It is. Kept his eyes downfield. Was still able to find find his receiver downfield. And so, yeah, man, I'm with you. And so, all right, so that's kind of, I mean, those are the top 10, right? Projected. So here's my one question, and he won't be there, but I've kind of had mixed emotions or thoughts. And I don't think he's going to drop. We might find ourselves and get lucky to get to number 6 again, maybe, depending on how everything plays out. I don't think Travis Hunter is going to fall past 5 tops. I'm sure he might be a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on Travis Hunter? If he were to say we get to 6, and for some, because again, players drop, we see it all the time. If we're sitting, let's say we go up to 6, what's your thoughts on Travis Hunter at possibly 6 if he were to get there?
If Travis Hunter is there at 6, then I'm trading back. I'm trading back. And not that I don't I dislike Travis Hunter, but I don't think that corner is that big of a need. Well, it's a need for us, but do I really want to? Do I want to draft the corner that high? Then there's the off the field stuff as well. And when you have an opportunity with the blue chip prospect like that to actually move back and probably load up on some other picks and still get some good players, I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with that. I wouldn't hate taking Trav either, right? He's a guy that he's a high level wide receiver. He's a high level cornerback. I think he's going to probably be more of a full-time corner in the league than he is wide receiver. I think he'll be a full-time corner, and then they'll probably have packages for him offensively where they take advantage of him as a weapon. So I wouldn't hate taking him, but I just think that if for a guy like Telesco that likes to wants as many opportunities as he can to add good players to this team. If you see a guy like Travis, I can see him taking him because the best player available, but I can also see him moving back and getting a nice haul.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of moving back, not too far, right? If you can move back 3-4 spots, and still kind of get somebody in the top 15, if your guy isn't there, then you got just more draft capital to work with. And so, but that's the thing is, we'll talk, we'll talk a little bit, even though we're now out of range. I don't think there's any chance if you're a Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward guy. I just don't know if there's really any chance of us getting them now. And that's the trade-off. I haven't seen one person in the chat this time around basically say that, giving people shit for wanting to lose that game.
Yeah.
I think people are starting to understand. It's in there going, look, when we beat Jacksonville, would you rather beat Jacksonville or have 2 extra first-round draft picks next year? Because you could trade back a little bit and gain some draft capital. No one in the right mind would take beat Jacksonville over two additional first-round draft picks. Just doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
And that's the same thing. We beat the Saints. We dropped the number 8. I mean, we could literally be sitting with the number 2 draft pick right now if we lost those two, with the Giants losing.
Yes.
So, and Anthony's saying let Telesco cook. That's the reason why I'd love to see us, being that number 2, maybe even number 3 spot, and be able to move back and acquire. But Frank Fernandez, you're on that AOC train, and there's gonna be a lot of people doing it, especially given the fact that he played pretty well today. Yeah. Not great, not enough to solidify himself as the starter.
Yeah,
but enough to be in the conversation, enough to provide competition.
Exactly.
And look, I'm definitely on. I'm definitely on the side of we need competition.
Exactly.
Without question, And so, Severe, I'll throw it to you real quick. Do you think Aiden O'Connell is good enough to be that competition, that backup quarterback, to push a potential starter next season? Do you think Aiden O'Connell can be that guy, or do we need to also look at another backup quarterback?
I would still try to add another person. I would still add another person to the mix. I don't know how. I don't think Carter Bradley is good enough, especially if we go to a completely new offensive system. Then both guys are going to be kind of equal playing field in terms of that. And I don't think Aiden O'Connell has the physical tools that whatever quarterback we take will have. So I think he can push him. He Moxie, he's a smart guy. Seems like he had some trouble picking up this system, so I don't know how fast he picks up NFL systems. I think he can push a guy, but if you want a guy that's like a legit can be able to start over whoever you draft, then I don't think Aiden O'Connell is the guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. And John Leone saying, but what does losing say to the rest of your young players and coaches? It says you don't believe in them for one player. It's hard because it's a bigger picture, right? Exactly. That's the only thing. It's a bigger picture thing. I mean, I think all these players understand and know. Now, look, there's the difference between front office mentality and coach's mentality. Like, look at AP. AP wants to win. You can tell. Yeah. If you watch this presser, he did nothing but say, "I'm winning. This is what I'm doing." And he said it last week, is that he care less about the draft pick talk, right? And so it's not necessarily about the young players. The young players know that they're there. Like Jackson Powers-Johnson knows he's there. DJ Glaze knows he's there. Brock Bowers knows they're there. I think it's just big picture. One of the comments that we had in our last live last weekend, someone said, losing is like having that loser mentality is like you teaching, you're basically the one teaching your kids that it's okay to lose. And that just doesn't make any sense when it comes to this part of it. You almost have to look at it as a business, right? Exactly. For example, it's the only way I can kind of put this, right? Sometimes you will take your losses. For example, let's say you're selling a product and you have 2-3 products on your shelf, and you just thought that this one product was going to sell. So you went and bought $1 million worth of product, and it just doesn't move. You can be stubborn as shit and hold on to it, and now you can't pay your employees. You can't pay your overhead. You're just stubborn as all hell, and you're holding on to that inventory. Or you can sell off that inventory less than what you thought you were going to make it for, right? So you kind of take a loss. You take a loss. You come to terms with the fact that inventory isn't going to move like you thought it was going to. But once you move that inventory at a loss, now you have that capital, you have that revenue to go in and potentially make another move.
Exactly.
To buy inventory that could potentially get you the profit that you wanted. Sometimes you have to take the loss. It's not having the loser's mentality. It's just sometimes you got to take that loss in order to potentially build for your future. That's the only way I can kind of put it into terms, because you got to think front office is looking at that way. Tom Telesco is potentially looking at it that way a little bit. So kind of only way I can put it. But we kind of looked at we broke down the stats. We talked about the game a little bit. We looked at where we're at. Right, we'll go back real quick. We're sitting at number 8, guys. Number 8. We got a long ways to go. A lot of people are still wanting a top quarterback. We may not be in range at all unless something crazy happens. But then we also took a look at the top prospects, and so that's kind of where we stand at this point. We got the Chargers up next. We did talk about some of the players. We definitely think that Amir Abdullah is definitely somebody that we should potentially bring back next year at the right price. Again, exactly. He's on a 1-year contract, but at the right price. But man, Severe, what's your last thoughts? I mean, we got 1 game left. I can't believe this season feels like it's just come and gone.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Even
with all the drama, man.
Yeah, I can't believe it. It seemed like just yesterday I was getting ready for the first Chargers game, and now we're getting ready for the last game of the season and against the Chargers as well. To just address the one guy's point, I don't think you tell any of your players to lose on purpose. That's why it's #SS, right? You put in the players that you think will get the job done without you having to tell them to lose. You play a Carter Bradley. You don't play a Jacoby. You don't. Max is not playing. You do stuff like that. You don't go out there and say, "Hey, I need you guys to lose today." And I'm just interested to see how the Chargers handled this last game. I think they clinched the playoffs already.
I think they did with last week's I think they did with their last win.
Yeah, with their last one, yeah. So, who they play? They beat the brakes off somebody. Was it the Patriots? Patriots, maybe the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots.
I think they put 40 up on them.
Yeah, they beat the brakes off the Patriots. So, that's why the Patriots are picking number 1 Raw. So I think the Patriots kind of know. Patriots know what's at stake.
They're pulling their #SS better than we are.
Yes, exactly. So, I'm interested to see how they handle this game. We've seen it already, kind of how we're going to handle it. We're going to go out there. We're going to try to win. I just hope everybody leaves the game healthy. Just interested to see, then after that game, that's when things really begin, right? Then we'll see, do we keep AP? Do we keep Scott Turner? Like how the organization, that's when the real games begin after that game, right? That game is inconsequential outside of draft position. It means nothing, like you want to end on a 3-game win streak for your fee-fees, but really it does nothing for us. The real games start, that Monday. We'll kind of see how the team handles it from there.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so we're gonna end on this one because again we're down to the wire. There's a really good chance. There's a good chance. Not I'm not trying to, and I'm seeing the comments roll in, so we'll ask this question. Severe and chat, let me know. Try to hit that #Raider so I see it. Do you think AP coaches his last game as a Raider next game? What's your thoughts, Severe?
I don't want it to be his last game as Raider. My gut tells me yes. That it is going to be his last game. Especially with all the organizational changes that have taken place, new ownership, Tom Telesco not really having any involvement with his hiring. Now we have Brady, who's the de facto president of football operations. He's going to be take a heavy hand, I'm sure, especially after the Super Bowl. The molding and the shaping of this organization, whether that be personnel, whether that be the coaches on the field. So I think it is going to be his last game as Raiders head coach. Don't want it to be, but I think it is.
And John Leon, man, I appreciate you responding back, just kind of our comments and all that stuff. And I'm with you. Like sometimes the number 1 overall pick or a top pick doesn't work out. I'm with you. But, at the same time, it's the efforts of trying to get there, at least as a front office, potentially Tom Telesco, just because, again, the only way that Tom Telesco can show his worth is through the draft and through free agency. That's kind of where he shows his worth. Jose Delgado, I appreciate you coming in. Players don't tank, fans do. You're right. Players don't ever tank. Players will always play their best game possible.
Yeah.
Because they're always either playing for the team that they're on to potentially be re-signed or the future team that could potentially pick them up. Players don't ever tank. And for everybody that has ever played before, if you have the moment you half-ass it is when you get hurt. So players don't tank.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now some players can start to play individual ball. Yes, that's a whole nother story. But I'm with you. Players don't tank. I'm with you. And then Aiden O'Connell's arm still isn't a rifle. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
And so I'm just looking to see everybody. Let me know if you think AP has coached his last game. And so here's my thing. Severe, I'm with you. I've had so many mixed emotions when it comes to AP because look, I'm going to stay as consistent as possible. I think that Luke Getsy being fired wasn't all on him. I mean, you can't run an offense with the amount of injuries and unexpected personnel like Michael Mayer and Devontae Adams just exiting the building. I mean, you have so many injuries. You have JPJ that didn't play until week 4. You have Colton Miller that's coming off a soldier injury. I mean, the only questionable call or move, clear questionable call was Sweet Feet Thayer Mumford, right? Lining him up at receiver. That was interesting.
Highlight of the year, man.
That's got to be the highlight of the year. Sweet Feet Thayer Mumford. So you look at just the injuries that have happened. And so I will say the same thing for Antonio Pierce, is that I think Antonio Pierce was just dealt a really shitty hand this year when it comes to personnel. So many injuries. You got one of your top pass rushers, Malcolm Kuntz, goes down instantly. Your high-paid free agent out of Christian Wilkins goes down, what was it, week 4, week 5? It's just constant injuries that just mounted up. I think against Cincinnati, we had 3 offensive linemen go down in one game. He was dealt a shitty hand. Now, on the flip side, there was a lot of questionable calls, whether it be challenges, whether it be clock management. Those are the type of things penalties. We ended last year as one of the least penalized teams, one of the most disciplined teams. And this year, we're not very good when it comes to penalties. We're not very good when it comes to just disciplined ball. And so that's what I put on the coach. Now, in addition to that, the one thing that you see a lot of the successful franchises or teams moving towards is offensive-minded head coaches.
Yeah. Because
what happens is you lock in. If you find the right guy, if you find the Andy Reid, if you find the Sean McVay, if you find some of these offensive-minded guys that can stick with the team, he's now your head coach. The Kyle Shanahans. You got him locked in. You're not AP. If he finds a good offensive coordinator and we find success for a year or two, guess what? That offensive coordinator's finding a head coaching job somewhere else, and now AP is back to square one, finding a new offensive coordinator.
Exactly.
That's the only part I struggle with, is with keeping Antonio Pierce. Now, again, in the same breath, I'll say he got dealt a shitty hand. So if we move off from him, I think it kind of sucks. But I'm also a fan of moving in that direction of finding that offensive-minded head coach that we can build with a quarterback. If we take a quarterback, whether it be midway through the first round, at some point in this draft, and that's his guy and he can develop him, I think that's our best way of moving towards the future. Yeah. So I struggle with it. I got mixed emotions because I think, again, he was dealt a shitty hand with all the injuries.
Yes, he was. He didn't do himself any favors.
He didn't.
Coincidentally, this game, I think he was pretty good in terms of clock management. I think he made the correct calls in terms of challenges. We had the challenge. I think it's the Madison challenge. I think that was a solid challenge. I think it was unsuccessful, but I think he's improved. He showed improvements over over these last few games, but it could be a situation where it's kind of too little, too late for him. So we'll kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah, and so a lot of people are saying, a lot of people do think that it potentially is his final year. Steve's saying if it is, it's trying to give Brian Flores and Cam Ward.
I mean,
I wouldn't mind Brian Flores, but again, it kind of goes away from just my thought
offensive
process
guy.
of bringing an offensive guy, and because it looks like that's just kind of where the league is kind of moving towards. You look at the successful teams over the years, unless you're the one-off, like John Harbaugh over at the Ravens. He's just able to find offensive coordinators. He's able to find good guys. I'm not saying that AP and look. The other thing I will say, and this is the kind of last thing I'll say on AP and Dre for sure. Yes, sweet feet. We're gonna mention it all off season, maybe even the next year. Is
man,
look,
it's true.
Do I think AP could be a good head coach someday? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I do think that he needs a few more years to really figure this thing out.
Yeah.
That's my thing. The hard part is that he was our interim head coach, and he was given the job because of popularity, because of the fan base, and I think that locker room, guys like Max Crosby, possibly Devonta Adams, they said, hey, we want this guy.
Yeah.
And that's how he got the job. I just don't think the Raider fan base and just the Raider organization, we don't got 2, possibly 3 years to wait for him to figure things out. And I think that's what he needs. I just think he needs more years to really figure this thing out. And I just don't think the Raiders organization is in the position to wait out those 2-3 years for him to possibly figure this thing out.
Yeah.
Because I think if he doesn't figure it out next year, if he continues to make the same mistakes next year, we're going to move off of him.
Yeah.
And if we move off, we just now had other potential head coaches that could come in and possibly do a good job. They have just we just passed them by.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern is I just don't think he's ready. And I don't know if we're willing to wait those 2-3 years to see if he could figure it out. So that's my thing. That's my take. But hey, 25-10, we win. We drop in the draft status. It just takes us that much farther out of reach from some of these quarterbacks. And all it's going to do is it's going to fire up the rumors. It's going to fire up, everybody talking about whether we trade up, whether we trade back, or we stay put, whether we trade a guy like Max Crosby, because we're already seeing it in the chat. Trade Max Crosby to gain that draft capital and move up. That's what it's going to start. Is just the rumors and all that talk. So Raider Nation, get ready for it because that's where we're at. Severe, man, any final thoughts before we jump out of here?
Yeah, man, it's the end of the season, man. Another playoff-less season for the Raiders. And it's frustrating seeing these teams. You see the Bengals, they were a team that were bad. They get the number 1 overall pick, Joe Burrow, but 2 years later they're in the Super Bowl. Jaden Daniels to the Washington Commanders. They were a bad team. They're going to be in the playoffs this year likely. Houston Texans, bad team. They get CJ Stroud. They win the playoff game. Jaguars, bad team. They get their quarterback. They go to the playoffs. They win a playoff game, even though they're having some struggles this year. So, I mean, as great of a season as Brock Bowers is having, historically great, the best rookie skill position or as a pass catcher of all time, we still suck because we don't have a quarterback. So I think, until you fix that position, almost nothing else on your team matters. So hopefully we make the right decisions and we address that position this offseason and we're able to move forward. And this time of the year, next year, we're not talking about potentially our coach being fired or who we're going to take in the top 10. We're talking about who we want to see in our first round matchup as a playoff team.
Yeah. I'm with you. And hey, JC, that's a good point. He did try to bring in Cliff Kingsbury. Could have been a different offense a little bit if we did, so you can't hold that against him. That's why I am just kind of torn, because if you did get Cliff Kingsbury, might have looked a little different. But hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe button wherever you're at. I got the Severe Raider rolling with me. Usually we have Chris, Protect Show podcast. Again, he went and saw a game with his old man. Can't pass up those opportunities. So make sure you guys go over there as well. He's usually with us post game, but we're going to find time, even though it's the new year. We're going to find time this week. Back home in my comfort zone. We'll try to break down some film, because even though season didn't pan out the way we wanted to, we always can pull stuff from film as we're moving forward. And so, John Leone, yes, I do think the rumor started when Max Crosby did the rush. I don't know if that was, I didn't watch it, but I do think that's where it came from. I'm with you. So, but hey, again, everybody, I appreciate you guys. I'm Real Talk Raider Nation, 805 Raider. Hit that subscribe button. We'll hit you guys later in the week. So turn on those notifications so you do know when we go live. But we appreciate you. Hopefully you guys had a great holiday. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. Whatever you guys celebrate, hopefully you guys had a great one. And if we don't see you before it, have a safe New Year's. Stay safe. Celebrate. Have a good one. And we'll see you guys later in the week for some film study. So appreciate you guys, and we're out. Later.
Peace.